Shocking outcome today as the Supreme Court rejects Republican bids to hear a case on social media companies' choices to censor misinformation. The Supreme Court just dealt a major blow to the Republicans' latest attempt to control social media, giving Miss Bad Bill, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a case of the boo-hoos. We have that clip for you coming up, but first let's look at the history of lies that got her conservative compatriots on the court to leave her out in the cold. Diving in today to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's fantasy world, we have 3 clear examples that we're going to debunk, all simply from January of 2021, right after the election. These inflammatory statements were easily fact-checked, and we're going to break them down right now. Our first debunked quote from Ms. Badbill. After the Capitol insurrection, the abortion rights group NARAL Pro-Choice America pointed out the involvement of white supremacists. Greene responded with her usual level of insight, calling it BS and questioning the presence of white supremacists. Newsflash, Margie. The FBI confirmed that multiple insurrectionists were in fact white supremacists. One guy even wore a Camp Auschwitz shirt. So, not exactly a subtle crowd. Next, Greene had the nerve to criticize the Georgia presidential election, saying it was stolen because officials mailed out absentee ballots like candy. Wrong again, Margie. Georgia's election was fair and square, with Biden's win confirmed by 3 recounts. Also, Georgia didn't just send out ballots willy-nilly. Only those who requested them got one, and they had to have proof that they were able to vote. This absentee ballot policy, it was instituted by other Republicans in 2005. Oopsie daisy, Margie. Looks like your own party is actually doing what it's supposed to, unlike you. Finally, in our last debunked tweet before our major clip, Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed that no Democrats condemned the political violence of the BLM or anti-fascist Antifa protests. But nope, sorry Margie. Many Democrats, including then Vice President Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, condemned the violence while supporting peaceful protests. So, we actually have video of that, and him demanding that President Donald Trump do something for the violence on both sides.
This violence of looting and burning and destruction of property. I want to make it absolutely clear, something very clear about all of this. Rioting is not protesting. Looting is not protesting. Setting fires is not protesting. None of this is protesting. It's lawlessness, plain and simple. And those who do it should be prosecuted. Violence will not bring change. It'll only bring destruction. It's wrong in every way. It divides instead of unites. Destroys businesses, only hurts the working families that serve the community. It makes things worse across the board, not better. No, it's not what Dr. King or John Lewis taught, and it must end. Fires are burning, and we have a president who fans the flames rather than fighting the flames. But we must not burn. We have to build. This president, long ago, forfeited any moral leadership in this country. He can't stop the violence because for years he's fomented it. You know, he may believe mouthing the words law and order makes him strong, but his failure to call on his own supporters to stop acting as an armed militia in this country shows how weak he is. Does anyone believe there'll be less violence in America if Donald Trump is reelected? We need justice in America. We need safety.
Finally, here's the clip we've been waiting for. On convicted criminal and nobody's favorite far-right gremlin, Steve Bannon's podcast, where Miss Badbill lies and cries about her loss at the Supreme Court. Take a look.
A bombshell this morning on the Facebook situation. You were not ready for that, were you?
No, I'm shocked. I feel like our First Amendment has been hit hard. You know, this is a war on our free speech. It's a war on our First Amendment rights. And this was a heavy blow. This was basically one that may sink the ship. When you've got the Supreme Court weighing in that social media companies can censor Americans' free speech, that it's completely fine with the government to join in.
I got all the arguments. I agree with you 100%. And this audience agrees with you 100%. I got all that. This was not it was 6-3.
6-3 is bad.
Talk to me about the court.
Well,
I mean, you had the usual suspects in the three.
Of course.
Pretty shocking who joined the liberal minority here, is it not?
I think so. Here's my concern. Millions of Americans died because of COVID-19. And, you know, children are still behind in school. Suicide rates increased. Millions of small businesses went out of business. The American dream completely died. It got slaughtered. People were told that they could not take ivermectin, that it was dangerous. Natural immunity all of a sudden became dangerous, and people were murdered on ventilators in the hospital. And our Supreme Court just sided with censorship of people's ideas.
With the sociopathic tech overlords, right?
Absolutely.
They took their side. Why do you think they took their side?
You know what, Steve? I can't process it because to me, this was a debilitating blow in our war, and I think it's bad.
You're seeing this up close because you're on the subcommittee going through COVID. You've seen everything that happened.
Steve,
Fauci. Every time he hears MTG's name, he quakes. So you're at the tip of the spear on this, correct?
Look, I'm on the COVID Select Committee, which I'm extremely frustrated on. Extremely frustrated. This is a pro-vaccine, pro-big pharma, heavily...
hang on, it's controlled by Republicans.
Yeah, that's the problem, Steve. I'm sorry. I am very cynical these days on the Republican Party.
But talk to me about the subcommittee. You don't, but your cynical nature of how they're acting. They just got back up by the Supreme Court, did they not?
They did. They got back up by the Supreme Court, which has really rocked my belief in
rocked your world.
Yes, it's rocked my belief and hope in our ability to save this country. When we have the Supreme Court ruling against free speech, it really, people need to look at that down the road, Steve. We need to look at where does that take us a year from now? Where does that take us? Let's go to 2026. Where does it take us in those elections? Where does that take us in the next presidential election? And I'll tell you, as a member of Congress, I myself was censored by these social media companies. I was banned on Twitter. Completely banned. Silence. It was a permanent ban. There was no way for me to come back, and that's because I spoke out and I said the FDA should not approve these vaccines. I spoke out for natural immunity. I spoke out for health, exercise, good diets. I spoke out on behalf of children being masked and forced to stay home. I spoke out on behalf of parents that were furious at their schools.
And the evidence has shown, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were right and the big tech was wrong.
Oh, yeah. Evidence has showed that I'm
no doubt about that.
100% right.
100% right.
Yes.
And yet they have back of a day.
And I paid the price with my own money. Nancy Pelosi fined me $2,500 every single day because I refused to wear a mask on the House floor. I was treated like the scourge of the earth because I told everybody I'm not vaccinated and I refuse to get the vaccine and will not ever get the vaccine. But this is what the Supreme Court did to not only me, but to Americans.
Well, that's all for today's dose of reality on Occupy Democrats. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm Evelyn Sarasso, and please always stay informed, stay vigilant, and seek the truth where you can. Thank you.